Hi guys, David O'Sullivan here, and I'm back with another top 10 of 2017, and I've already done my top 20 actually best films of 2017. If you want to check that out, link somewhere over here I suppose. But in this video I'm going to be doing my top 10 most overlooked and underseen films of 2017, and I did a similar kind of thing last year because with 2016 there was a lot of really great films that kind of nobody really saw or nobody were really talking about, so I kind of had to make another top 10 just for those films because they didn't end up making my best of the year. And I figured I'd do the similar kind of thing this year because there were a lot of really great films that came out in 2017 actually that I really liked but weren't quite good enough to make my top 20 best of the year. But I figured I would want to do another top 10 just for those films because I think they're films that really deserve recognition, really kind of deserve to be talked about and really kind of should be seen, and I really want to praise and support and publicise those films, not the kind of films that I didn't like or thought were disappointing, but the films that I thought were really good, didn't make my best of the year, but I think deserve to be talked about and deserve to be seen because they were really great and they kind of got overlooked, really flew under the radar. And so this list is going to be my top 10 most overlooked films of 2017. Now, a few honourable mentions before I begin. I've got Breathe, I've got Gifted, I've got Stronger, I've got The Glass Castle, and I've got T2 Trainspotting. And the reason I didn't put these in my list is because even though none of these films did spectacularly well at the box office, they all have the kind of name recognition of kind of famous actors or directors behind the cameras. So, they had some kind of, recognition there as far as the big names or the talent that were involved. So I decided to leave them off the list. And also, I decided to make a top 10 almost exclusively different films from my top 20 best of the year. There were a couple of films that were in my best of the year that are also in this list, but aside from them, this is for the most part a completely different list of films that I thought were really great, weren't in my best of the year, but I think really deserve to be talked about because they were kind of some of the most overlooked and underseen films of the year that really flew under the radar. Not a lot of people are really talking about, but I think really deserve to be talked about and really kind of should be seen and should be supported. So, with all that said, let's get into this now with my picks for the top 10 most overlooked films of 2017. And kicking this off at number 10, I've got The Lost City of Z. And this is a film that did actually make my top 10 actually best of the year, but it was a film that was really overlooked. Not a lot of people are talking about this film at all. I mean, there are like a few people out there, I think, that have got the Lost City of Z on their best of the year, but for the most part, this film is nowhere to be seen on anybody's lists. And, it's not a kind of film that everyone's loved to the same degree as me, for example, but I really do feel like it is one of the most overlooked films of the year because I think it was a really great film. It made my top 10, but not a lot of people talk about this. Not a lot of people went to see it. It made 17.2 million at the box office, so it made more than a lot of the other films on this list. I kind of ranked them based on personal preference, but also on how little they gross at the box office, because I figured that the less they gross, the less people that actually went to see them. So I kind of factored in how overlooked they were in terms of, how little they gross at the box office with personal preference. And I put Lost City of Z at number 10 because it did make a little bit more than some of the other films on this list, but it still was not seen and not talked about by a lot of people out there, and I really do feel like this film deserves so much more recognition and deserves to be talked about so much more because I thought it was really great. I mean, you know what I think about it already if you've seen my best films of the year or my review, so I won't talk too much about it here, but I thought it was a really great film, so I thought I would sneak it onto my list there at number 10. Coming in at number 9, this is a film that came out in the middle of the year and kind of got lost amongst a bunch of big summer movies and kind of just came and went, really flew under the radar for a lot of people, I think, and that is Colossal, the kind of sci-fi, kind of quirky comedy drama of sorts with Anne Hathaway. And I'm hesitant to talk too much about it because it's the kind of film that will probably be so much better to experience if you don't really know what the twist is and what the kind of really cool quirky nature of the film really is about. But this is a film that really surprised me. It was really my kind of film, this kind of quirky kind of black comedy kind of film with a kind of sci-fi twist to it. Everyone in this movie were really great. Anne Hathaway was great. I'm a big fan of Anne Hathaway. Jason Sudeikis was in the film. He was really great. And yeah, I didn't expect this film to be one of my favourites of the year, but it was. It didn't quite make my top 20, but I really enjoyed this film, and it only grossed 3 million worldwide at the box office, so I don't think a lot of people saw it, but I think it's a film that's really worth checking out. It's not for everyone. Not everyone's loved it, I don't think. But if you're a fan of kind of sci-fi, quirky, black comedy, drama type films, I think it will really be for you. It was a really cool concept. I think it was executed really well, and I actually really enjoyed this movie, and I really feel like not a lot of people are talking about it. It really flew under the radar. I don't think a lot of people really saw it, but I really enjoy Colossal, so it makes my list at number 9. Now, coming in at number 8, this film made a little bit more at the box office, but that is The Florida Project. It only made like 5.1 million, I believe, at the box office, so not a lot. And when I say these figures, I'm talking worldwide as well, so this is how much they made worldwide, at least so far anyway. So 5.1 million worldwide, but The Florida Project, I didn't personally love it as much as a lot of other people have, but it was a really great film. Not a lot of people have seen it. Hasn't done that spectacularly well at the box office. It is this smaller kind of indie film, but it is really worth checking out because it is a really great film. Like I said, I didn't love it as much as a lot of other people have, but it is really worth checking out. I think it was really great. Again, I've already done a review of this film, so you probably know how I feel about it if you've seen that video. But yeah, I think this is a film that is worth checking out. It is a very small, independent film. It's not going to be for everyone. I did have some problems with it. I think there were some issues as far as the pacing. It did feel quite long and it did drag at times for me, but I think it is a film that is definitely worth checking out. I can totally understand why a lot of people have this on their kind of best films of the year, and again, not a lot of people have seen it, and I think it's a film that really deserves to be supported and really kind of should be seen. So there we go, The Florida Project at number 8. Now, coming in at number 7, I really like this film. It made 4.1 million at the box office, and it is The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Now, I completely understand why a lot of people would not like this film and would take against it, because it is quite a kind of controversial, divisive film. It's from the director of The Lobster, another kind of very weird film, but this is even weirder, but I loved it, so if you like really weird, insane, crazy films, again, I've done a review of The Killing of a Sacred Deer already, but I loved it, I loved it because of how different it was. It's not going to be for everyone. Somebody might watch this film and really not like it, but I really loved it. It wasn't quite good enough to make my top 20 best of the year, but I really did enjoy this film, and I liked it a whole lot more than I thought I was going to. Another great kind of black comedy, really. There's a lot of very funny moments in this film. I mean, maybe someone could watch it and not find it funny, but it was very darkly comedic. The performances were great. These kind of deadpan performances from Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, Raffi Cassidy and Barry Keoghan. Really great acting all round. Phenomenally directed film as well. It looks really great, almost Kubrickian at times. I really enjoyed this movie. It didn't make my best of the year, but I really liked it. I really feel like it should be seen. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think it is worth checking out because it was just so cool and weird and different. Coming in at number 6, this film only made 1.9 million at the box office. I can kind of understand why, because it is this very weird little film, and again, it's another one that made my top 20 best of the year, like The Lost City Z, and it is a ghost story. And yes, this film, I can understand why it's not going to be for everyone, but it didn't do very well. Not a lot of people saw it, but I think it is one of the best films of the year. Like The Lost City Z, it did make my top 10 best films of 2017. I think this was a really great little film. It's not going to be for everyone. It is very slow paced. There's a lot of very long, drawn out shots that go on for an insanely long amount of time. But I feel like it's one of those films, and I said this in my best of the year, that if you go with it, and if you're patient enough, it is worth it in the end. It's just, if you're really used to really fast-paced, quick-cut films, you're probably really not going to like this movie. My mum and sister really didn't like it. But I liked it because of that. It was really refreshing. It was very lyrical. It was very poetic. It was very quite moving as well. I really liked the message that was being put across in the movie, and yes, it is a very kind of niche film, I suppose. It's not going to be for a large, wide demographic. I can totally understand why it's not done spectacular at the box office, but it is a film that I think is so different, and it is so unique, and it is so special. There really is nothing like this that came out in 2017. I think David Lowery did a fantastic job directing this movie, and if you want to see something that's really cool and different, you might not end up loving the movie, but I think it is really worth checking it out because it really was really cool and different and really quite special. So there we go, A Ghost Story at number 6. Coming in at number 5, this film didn't even make 1 million. It made As far as I've calculated, I could be wrong about this, it's made about 678,000, I think, worldwide so far, but that is Brigsby Bear. This was, and I'm surprised this hasn't been more successful. I mean, maybe it hasn't been released wide in all markets yet, I'm not sure. I mean, it didn't receive a massive, big marketing push. It is a small little indie film, but it was a really cool, quirky, kind of funny film. And I think this is a movie, something like a ghost story, for the Florida Project, for example. I can understand why they're not appealing to a wide demographic, I suppose. But with this, I really do feel like it's a film that a lot of people will really love, regardless of whether you're into smaller independent films or just the big blockbusters, because this is a film that almost reminded me of Elf in many ways. I mean, it's a very different kind of film, but the way I describe it, it was almost felt like Room with Brie Larson crossed with Elf with Will Ferrell. That sounds completely nuts and insane. But if you've seen it, you kind of know what I'm talking about. I don't want to go too much into plot because, again, it's another film that I didn't really know a whole lot about. And I feel like it's a better kind of film to go in cold, not really knowing what to expect, because it was a really pleasant surprise for me. I saw this back in October, and I really enjoyed Brigsby Bear. I'm surprised it's not a bigger of a hit. Like I said, I don't know if it's been released everywhere yet, and it's not like a really big movie. It was just done by these kind of guys from SNL. Hal Mooney in the lead role. It was very reminiscent of Will Ferrell for me from Elf. He was really great, really kind of breakout star of this film. Yeah, it was just a really cool, quirky little kind of comedy drama that was funny, it was heartwarming, it was uplifting. I thought it was really great, and it really deserves to do a whole lot better than it currently has at the box office. It was a really great film, and I think a lot of people will really end up loving this movie as well. So there we go, Brigsby Bear at number 5. Coming in number 4, this film made 1.5 million in the box office, and it is Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. And again, this is another one of the best films of the year, I think. It didn't make it onto my top 20, but I do think it was a really fantastic film. If you've seen my review, you'll know that I really liked it. It was one of my favourites that I saw at the film festival here in Bath, and it was really great, really enlightening, really inspiring, learning the true story origins of Wonder Woman, where she came from, who it was that created her, and what were the circumstances surrounding her creation. And the great thing about this film was that it wasn't just about the creation of Wonder Woman. That comes quite late in the movie. It's more about the true story, kind of relationships between these three people that ultimately led to the creation of Wonder Woman down the line. And it was a really great film that kind of explored these kind of timely, kind of topical social themes and issues that was done in a way that didn't feel forced, it didn't feel on the nose, it felt natural, it felt authentic, it felt weirdly uplifting and inspirational as it came to a close. And I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, not in my top 20 best of the year, but it's a film that I think is really worth checking out, regardless of whether you're a big fan of Wonder Woman and the comics or not, because it was just a really great, really enlightening and inspiring true story behind what would later lead to the creation of Wonder Woman. So, really well acted all around. Luke Evans, Rebecca Hall, Bella Heathcote, they were all really great, and I really do feel like it's a film that's worth checking out, and I think you'll end up really liking it. So there we go, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. Getting into my top 3 now, this film made 3 million, but still not a lot, and that was Ingrid Goes West. I absolutely love this film. It didn't make my top 20, but it did make my honourable mentions, I think, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this movie. Again, another very kind of darkly comedic film. It's dealing with very kind of serious, quite dangerous, kind of topical subject matter of kind of, the dangers of, social media and how people can get obsessed and their minds can get warped and they can become quite dangerous and unhinged. But it was just so funny. I just love films like this, very kind of blackly comedic films. And Aubrey Plaza, I've never been like a massive fan of hers before. She never really jumped out to me before, but she was great in this movie. A very kind of darkly comedic performance from her. She was fantastic. Elizabeth Olsen was really great as a supporting role to her. And O'Shea Jackson Jr., if I'm pronouncing his name right, he was in Straight Outta Compton, but in this movie, he almost stole every scene he was in. He was really great, and the stuff between him and Aubrey Plaza and their back and forth was really great in this film. I know I'm saying great a lot, but it's true. It was a really great little film, this, and I actually ended up enjoying it way more than I thought it was going to. It's one of my favourite films that I saw across my the festival run and the films that I saw at the festivals. Didn't make my best of the year, but it was a film that I really loved and I really, definitely recommend. So there we go, Ingrid Goes West at number 3. Coming in at number 2, another one of the best films of the year that didn't make my top 20, but was one of my honourable mentions, and that was Good Time. Made 2 million at the worldwide box office so far. I know these kind of figures are kind of insane, but they are very smaller independent films. But this is a film that was starring Robert Pattinson, so we've got a recognisable face in there, but he does very much disappear into the role in this film. I think it's probably one of his best, if not his best performance. I think he was fantastic in this movie. I've never really been a massive Robert Pattinson fan, although I'm really liking the choices he's been making in recent years. He also popped up in The Lost City Z, actually. But he's very much a lead in this movie, and he's very much an unlikable protagonist. Like, he's not a nice guy, but you're still kind of rooting for him and you're following him on this kind of crazy journey over this insane night of everything going wrong, with the kind of ironic title there of Good Time. And yeah, it was really great. I really love the direction by the Safdie brothers. I think they've got a real bright future ahead of them, because it was a really kind of whip-smart, quick-witted, kind of really great kind of crime caper film, but very different, very unconventional, doesn't play out in ways you'd expect. And yeah, any other year this probably would have made my top 20, but there was just so many other films that I liked even more. But this was one of my favourite films I saw back at the London Film Festival, and yeah, Robert Pattinson, he was really great. A really funny film, a really kind of on the edge of your seat, kind of thrilling, kind of crime caper movie that I really enjoyed. So there we go, Good Time at number 2. And coming in at number 1, this film only made 1 million worldwide. I don't know if it's been released everywhere yet, but it is Thelma, and this is a Norwegian film. It's a foreign film, so it kind of makes sense why it hasn't done spectacular at the box office. But I really loved this film. It was really my kind of film. A film following this girl on this journey. Again, I've done a review of it already, but where she's going on this sexual awakening, but she's also going on this journey to discovering these powers she has. It's almost like a Carrie kind of thing, mixed with a coming-of-age drama in many ways. The way I describe it is that it's like a sci-fi supernatural thriller crossed with a coming-of-age teen drama. And it was just awesome. It was a really great combination, really well directed, really well acted. I was probably more emotionally invested in this than any other love story that came out this year, aside from maybe The Shape of Water. Really well done, really kind of entrancing and hypnotic kind of film this, where you just really sucked in. A bit of a slow burner, it was quite slow moving, but it really works. It almost felt like Hitchcock crossed with David Lynch. We've got the kind of the suspense there, we've got the kind of the body horror there, we've got the kind of the surreal kind of ness of it all, and I really enjoyed this movie. Not going to be for everyone, but it was really my kind of cup of tea. And if you really like films like that, again, watch my review if you want to know more of my thoughts. But if that sounds like your cup of tea, you'll probably really enjoy this film, because I did. I thought it was really great. Didn't make my best films of the year again, but I really enjoyed this movie, and I thought it was, really fantastic. So there we have it. That wraps up my top 10 most overlooked and underseen films of 2017. What do you think about my list? What do you think were some of the films that you saw that you thought maybe flew under the radar, like not a lot of people are really talking about, but really should be talking about, that you thought were really great? There are a lot of films that came out in 2017, a lot of films that aren't really getting talked about, that I really feel like should be getting more attention. So that was my list. What is your list? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this and you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to see more. This is my top 20 best films of 2017. I know I've talked about it a lot this video. Be sure to go and click over here to catch up on that video, or perhaps down here to catch up on other of my recent videos. But with that said, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.